welcome back for another video. In this video we'll look at the top players for points projections in Gameweek 15. Just 2 game weeks to go before the World Cup break. Perhaps an opportunity to make an exciting transfer or a punt before we all get unlimited transfers after Gameweek 16. So let's start with the goalkeepers, which will be a short segment this week as a small percent of managers are likely to be in the market for a keeper. That said, we did see a couple of keepers withdrawn with injury in Gameweek 14. Nonetheless, it's always interesting to see which teams the algorithms favouring defensively. Top this gameweek is Ederson with 4.4 projected points. It's perhaps the fixture of the gameweek, home to Fulham on the weekend. Ederson's a funny one on FPL. City are undoubtedly the best defence in the league, which makes him sound appealing on paper, but Ederson also as a consequence faces fewer shots. So this can actually play against you in FPL goalkeeper selections. Ederson has the most clean sheets this season, but he's the 6th top scoring goalkeeper, so he is a good pick but generally a 6-point ceiling. Sanchez is in second with 3.8 projected points, and Brighton head into Gameweek 15 after an incredible 4-1 win over Chelsea and former manager Potter. Sanchez was extremely impressive that game, keeping 7 saves and thus scoring 5 points despite conceding. Brighton have 2 good fixtures before the World Cup, against Wolves in Gameweek 15 and Villa, so he is a great pick if you're looking for a keeper. Pickford's another great pick, with fixtures against Leicester and then Bournemouth before the break. He was the top scoring keeper in Gameweek 14, scoring 11 points, accumulating 6 saves and maximum bonus points. Pope's on the road to Southampton and projected 3.9 points. Over the opening 14 game weeks, Southampton are 3rd worst for expected goals with 12.1 XG. Only Crystal Palace and Bournemouth have fared worse. Next up, the defender projections, and on top's Cancelo for the Fulham fixture. Fulham have been impressive offensively, scoring 22 goals, which is 6th highest, but Man City's 9 expected goals conceded is also top among all teams. Outside of Cancelo, it's a bit tricky to predict which defenders start for City. Diaz and Laporte among the projections. Diaz was benched last match after a few starts before that, and Laporte the one returning to the starting 11 in Gameweek 14. Trippier is in second with 4.1 points, and his 11-pointer in Gameweek 14 the biggest score of the season for him. And he's 6 points clear of Cancelo as a top scoring defender. For Trent owners, it was a frustrating way to lose the clean sheet, coming from a Gomez mistake which led to an open goal for Rodrigo. And he's projected 3.7 points. At this point he's probably worth holding unless you don't own Cancelo or Trippier. West Ham were really impressive against Man United despite the loss. They finished with 2 home games against Crystal Palace and Leicester before the break. Both Zuma and Cresswell make the projections and both good looking picks. Zuma came close to scoring last match, and Cresswell always offers the width and crosses into dangerous areas at times. Dunk's another strong pick for the final 2 if you need a cheap defender. Projected 3.6 points this game week, 7.5 in total for Gameweek 15 and 16. Moving on to the midfielder projections, and comfortably tops De Bruyne, projected 7 points against Fulham. Without Haaland last game, he was the difference maker, scoring a wonderful free kick as City edged a 1-0 win. He remains the top scoring midfielder with 81 points as it stands, and if you're a Salah owner, it's a very tempting move if you've got no other fires to put out and if you're not tripled up on City already. The good news is that in Gameweek 15 there are 4 fixtures all kicking off at the same time first, so we perhaps get some early news again as we did in Gameweek 14. So make sure you are tuned into the deadline stream for some hopeful early Man City news again. In last Gameweek stream we got early news of Haaland and Foden missing out, and as such this news could be instrumental for the final 2 if we get more. There are midweek European games on too, so ideally hold your transfers with that all in mind. Salah rewarded those who kept patient with him, scoring the Leeds loss. He's on 65 points over the season, which is 7th highest among mids, and still a long way off where you'd want him to be at this point. However, Liverpool do finish with a home game against Southampton in Gameweek 16, so he's perhaps worth a hold or switch to De Bruyne. Bowen looks like a fantastic pick as well for the final 2 games. Again, if we get early news that Foden is benched, or if Saka is out for Gameweek 15, then Bowen looks like the one. 2 home games and he's projected 4.6 points this week. Rashford was the difference maker last game week, scoring in the win over West Ham, and he's projected 4.4 points. Another excellent option for the final 2, and 1.5 mil cheaper than Bowen. Man United have 2 away games against Aston Villa and Fulham before the break. Trossard also deserves a mention, projected about the same as Rashford this week, and he's the 3rd top scoring midfielder with 73 points. He's scored in back-to-back games since 500,000 managers sold him a couple of game weeks ago after he blanked against Forest. In a recent interview, Pep alluded to the fact that he can sense which players aren't given 100% out of fear of injury right before the World Cup. It's an interesting dilemma some managers will be facing. Mahrez makes the projections here of 4.1 points, but his starts are hard to predict. However, Algeria failed to qualify for the World Cup, so he perhaps does get more minutes, being completely focused on the Premier League in these final 2. Nonetheless, he is a very risky transfer. Almiron misses out on the projections. He's projected 3.9 points as it stands, so he doesn't miss out by much at all. He deserves a mention as well, 79 points, and only De Bruyne has more among mids. No player has more points than Almiron over the last 6 game weeks either. Although it's a decent fixture for Newcastle this game week, in game week 16 they do face Chelsea, so perhaps you could make the case for Rashford or Trossard over Almiron considering the better fixtures, if you have the extra cash. Failing that, Almiron's an excellent pick for 5.6 mil, and no doubt once we head into the World Cup he'll be in all our teams. If today's video has been useful so far, please remember to drop it a like and subscribe to support the channel. So onto the forwards, and Kane tops the projections narrowly ahead of Wilson with 5.3 points. It's a big game this week with Spurs playing home to Liverpool. Wilson was the top scorer of Game Week 14 with 19 points coming from 2 goals and 2 assists, involved in all 4 goals. He's a standout Tony replacement, and likewise if you're looking to sell Mitrovic, who has the City fixture, he's got to be the one. We do get unlimited transfers after the Game Week 16 deadline, so there is an opportunity to take a punt or 2. Perhaps Calvert-Lewin's one to consider with a home game against Leicester next. But realistically, he's not done enough to justify selection over Wilson, who's also cheaper. But Calvert-Lewin is 0.7% owned and is a great fixture this game week. Haaland's projection is currently very low due to his expected minutes being very up in the air. At the time of recording, the algorithm has him on 38 minutes, which equates to 4.2 projected points. If by the deadline we have clear news that he's fully fit and available, then using 75 minutes as a ballpark equates to 7.9 points. This would put Haaland top of the Game Week 15 projections. Tony is suspended for Game Week 15 after picking up a careless yellow card in added time last match, so Mbeumo makes the projections with 4.1 points for the game against Nottingham Forest. He's one to avoid though, because Brentford's final fixture before the break is Man City. Jesus has 4.1 points projected this game week, and he's the only player from Arsenal or Chelsea to make the projections, with the two of them facing one another at Stamford Bridge on Sunday. That wraps up today's video, thanks for watching. If it was useful, please remember to like the video and subscribe to support the channel. I'll read every comment, so leave one below and I'll be sure to read it. See you soon for the next one.